New Jersey that she qualified for the marathon trials the past two cycles, and like sometimes she'll show up to run with the guys, and it's just like, oh, I know I'm getting dropped today.
Yeah. I don't even remember the last time that's like happened to me. But I mean, dude, I've been rolled up on like what looked like a 6-year-old dude once, and once that happens, you're just like, it's all good. I'm having an off day, or I'm just taking it easy today. But it is what it is. I think with with that, it's like everyone is kind of if you stick to your own thing, it doesn't matter who rolls up on you. If a granny with a walker rolls up on you, though, you're having some issues that day. But yeah, I would definitely throw the coastal runs in my kind of all time favorites, just because it's so easy, and it's just such a, like you said, it's just nice, it's just peaceful, especially those mornings when you get out real early and the roads are pretty dead. I definitely, Claire and I went up to Capri one year, and we stayed in Portland for a little bit of time. I definitely really loved Forest Park up there in Portland. That's amazing. It's kind of like I was telling someone about it the other day, how it's just such a runnable trail, and it's like soft, but not like not like you're sinking and you can't get out of it, not like sand, but it's like soft, like kind of like spongy in a way, where you like
the pine needles.
Yeah, it's just so nice. It's just kind of bouncy and very, very nice, and yeah, I love it. That was such a great. I mean, we'd get out there for a couple hours and would just be like, oh, let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. My body feels great, and even if you fall, because I ate shit there one time, even if you fall, it doesn't even hurt. It's just like, oh, you just kind of bounce around on the ground, and like I remember we were getting done with like a 2.5 hour run. I remember it was like within the last 15 minutes, I just kind of slipped and fell and just kind of rolled and got right back up. And Claire's like, "Wow, that was so graceful." I was like, "It didn't even hurt." Like I'm just like felt like I was in like a bounce house or something. It's like awesome. So I did love that. I remember those runs really vividly. And then, I mean, I don't know if I could leave New Zealand off my list, because New Zealand was, man, just mind blowing. It was just undescribable in a way. It's like if you see it and it just kind of is one of those things where, when I think it was like kind of the same feeling I got when I was in Colorado for the first time, where I was just like, wow, these mountains are massive. Like, this is just so big. Like, you don't like really get a good sense of how grand something is until you're like actually standing in front of it. And that was kind of like New Zealand in a sense too, where you're just like, and that's another place where you won't run into other people, where you just go off exploring, especially the South Island. I mean, I love the North Island, and I would love to have done more exploring up there, but the South Island is so raw and so beautiful. It's like, the most of the runs I'm talking about are around Queenstown area, and I mean, I suggest to anybody that wants to go. I know they do a Rotorua. That's a North Island run, ultra, every year. I heard that's really great. We didn't go to Rotorua when we were there. We were near there, but we didn't have time. Maybe next time. Who knows? But yeah. So pretty stoked on just running there. Like, it was just, and the air is so clean. I mean, it's just like you can't beat it. You can't beat like what you got going on there. The sheer beauty, like no people. The trails are super runnable, and it's got climbing, it's got mountains, it's got everything. So it's cool. You may see some wildlife. We saw some crazy stuff. We saw like goats and stuff out, like mountain goats. And,
really?
Yeah, like we saw this one. We did this run a couple times, and then we drove by a couple times too, and we'd see this goat that just chilled there and just ate grass all day. And that's like what he was doing. He had these big horns and stuff, and I was like, I never really figured out what it was. I just assumed it was a goat, mountain goat, because I don't know what else it would have been. But Yeah, just kind of hang out. It wouldn't even be bothered by people or cars or anything. Just wanted to eat his grass all day or grass. So it's just like funny. And then, what other wildlife did we see? We didn't see anything crazy, but they have they have deer, a lot of deer out there, but nothing too crazy. We did see a freshwater eel in one of the streams. That was kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah, that was wild. I didn't know that they even existed. And this guy, we were on a tour. We weren't just running and saw it. We were on a tour to go to the glowworm caves, and this guy literally just had like a piece of chicken, and this eel jumped out of the water and just ate it right from his hand. It was like massive too. The thing was like 3 or 4 feet long. It was massive. I got a picture of it. I'll have to send it over to you. It's insane. And yeah, just stuff like that. I mean,
was it a local dude?
Yeah. He was like the guy, like the tour guide. He had some chicken.
Gotcha.
Like he had some chicken.
He wasn't worried about losing a finger.
Yeah, he just was like, oh, come. He was like kind of putting it in the water. I'm like, this guy is crazy, man. Yeah, he was like a local, Kiwi, and but yeah, that was pretty cool as far as running goes and just experience wise. If any of you out there, or if you, Rich, ever want to get away for like 3 weeks, a month, and have the money and just want to go anywhere in the world, you cannot go wrong with going to New Zealand and traveling around the islands. They're beautiful. The people are amazing. Like, the people are just awesome, and I mean, as far as the trip goes, it's relatively, compared to like other trips you'd go on to Europe, or it's relatively reasonable as far as price. I mean, our money's worth a little bit more there, which is nice. And then like you can find Airbnbs. I kid around, like we went on our honeymoon, and the first place we stayed in was an Airbnb. It was cost $23 a night, so it was like a tree house,
I'm a fan of Airbnb.
Yeah. So if you're listening to Airbnb, shoot us some gift cards or something.
Yeah, dude, that's all I use now.
Dude, it was so funny because we flew in, and it was a last minute thing. It wasn't like, hey, we're going on our honeymoon, let's stay in a treehouse for a night. It was like a last minute thing where I had reservations at an Airbnb, and they were selling the house, so they canceled it.
Oh, no.
But I had to find a new place to stay within like a week of our honeymoon. So I found another place which was really cool. It was right on like Raglan, the main break, and I needed one night. We needed one night to stay somewhere, so we found this treehouse for like $23, and dude, it was hilarious. There was no bathroom. The bathroom was outside, and it had 3 walls, and the open door area was faced out to the ocean. So if you sat on the can, you were just looking at the ocean because you were up high. It's just like. It was like out of a movie, like some like, old, I don't know, like Dan Aykroyd or like Steve Martin type of film where they just ended up somewhere and like, I guess we're just staying here. And, the first thing we do is like plug our phones into charge, and we like blow a fuse so we can't, like, we have no lights for the night, it's just like, so it was like, it was like one of those things, like, but it was great. And, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely a fun time. And then if I can throw like an honorable mention in there, one of the fun runs that's kind of crazy, and I know they do it on a bike. I know that it's a big thing on a bike, but it's really fun to run. When I used to live in Hawaii, we used to do this run on Oahu called the Tantalus Run, and it's basically 5 miles uphill. And I know they do it on a like cyclists do it, and they go for time. And I think I want to say I heard like Lance Armstrong has done it in like 20 minutes or something or less, but that doesn't count now. The record is but I mean, it's a good run. I mean, I think the best I've run it is probably, I think it was like just under 40 minutes. I think it was like 38 or 37, and it was just always a fun run to do. I think it was 4.7 miles to be exact, but it was legit like uphill. Like that's part of the Hurt 100.
Okay, yeah.
That's where they run the Hurt 100. So that's it. But you don't go on trails. It's all road. So you're just winding up. You get a couple little flat sections where you can open it up, but just kind of doing a run like that over and over and over again, like. You kind of get to know like the different areas, so you almost like realize like and learn how to race it. And that was probably my first kind of experience really running, like you were saying that with like the Dipsy was kind of like your first experience, like experiencing like runs, like going up for miles. That was kind of my first experience. I remember the first time I did it, I got dropped so hard, like within the first mile. I was like, how can you guys be running this fast uphill? Like, it's insane. So I'd go out there on my off time, and I try to run it like once or so a week, and then we went back about a year and a half ago, and Claire and I ran it and didn't realize how tough it was. And we did, and I forgot when we used to do it, we used to have like a van at the top, so we just used to get a ride back down. And when Claire and I did it, we did like the whole loop, and it ends up being like 15 miles because we ran from our hotel where we were staying in Honolulu. So we didn't even realize we didn't take any water. We did take some money. So we're just like, and it would end up being hot, but when you get up that high to the top, it cools down quite a bit. So we're like, oh, it's going to cool down, it'll be all right. And then we get down to the bottom, and first gas station we find, we buy like some water, some Gatorade. We literally drink it all, and then we have to like run like 3 more miles back home. We were just like, just toasted. It was like, but yeah, I mean, if you're ever out in Hawaii, you can check that out, Tantalus, and that's a really fun run. I just remember a lot of my memories of running. That's kind of where I first started running, so I have a lot of good memories out there. The Honolulu Marathon was my first marathon. The Kauai Half Marathon was my first half marathon. So definitely some cool races out there. If you're ever in Kauai around, I think they do the race in September. They do a marathon and a half. That's an amazing race. It's beautiful, like everything. It's you'll probably see about 300 or 400 chickens on the run. It's a chicken island. So, but yeah, you want to check something out and just have a great time. They do a great job at the Kauai Marathon and half marathon. So I did the inaugural one, which was really cool. I think it was in 2009, and it's hilly. There's a good climb in it, but it's also a real fair course. You climb and you get about to mile 5 or 6. You climb for about 2 miles, and then 8 through 13 is pretty much like you're cruising. You're going downhill. You can open it up and really, really run a good, fun race. So I didn't know what the hell I was doing. That was my first half marathon, but I still had a lot of fun and placed in the top 10. So I was stoked on that.
Nice. Yeah, that's in the fall, right?
I'm pretty sure it's in September or October. I can't remember exactly, but
and they run a full too, yeah.
They do a full, yeah, and the course is about the same until you get to about that 5 to 8 mile range, and then they do a split off, and then they come back in, and you kind of end together. I heard the full is amazing. I didn't do the full because that was one of my training runs to lead up to Honolulu, and or training races. And I heard the full, you actually pretty much get almost a whole tour of the island when you do the full. So it's a great way to see the island. The highways, or they're not even really highways there. The roads there are pretty much 2-lane roads, never really busy. And you do get to see pretty much majority of the island, because I remember driving out to the east coast of Kauai when we went to just do some fun stuff, and I knew that was part of the course, which was cool. So you get to see so much, and so if you wanted to, I like taking vacations and doing tours of cities running. So if you wanted to see an island, especially probably, in my opinion, the most raw and like beautiful island is Kauai. So if you wanted to see something like that on your own, pay a little bit of money and go do it. It's worth it. It's beautiful. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I have I just started working with another athlete, and she actually won the Kauai Marathon last year, and she was the first female.
Nice.
So she's running it again this year.
Good for her.
So I was interested to hear about that. I wanted to ask you too, have you run any of that Hurt course?
Just the Tantalus stuff. Like, I've been in so the way Tantalus is, if you can picture this, is it's a road that goes kind of straight up, like to pretty much one of the highest points on Oahu, and then it loops around back down. So all the terrain in the middle of that big loop is pretty much how they run the Hurt. They go up and down, up and down. I think they do it 3 times. They go up, down, up, down, up, down, and that's like it makes up 20 miles.
Yeah.
And they do that same 20 miles 5 times. And I've done just